Live from Kansas City, it's Comic Book Late Night with Captain Logan. Featuring thoughts on comic news, obscure character of the week, and a little something from the comic vault. And now, here's your host, Captain Logan!
Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and welcome once again to Comic Book Late Night. We've got a fantastic show for you planned tonight. Tons and tons of stuff going on. This turned into somehow a really complicated, really exciting show. I've got two guests tonight. First, we're going to talk to Christina Barr of the Gorgeous Geeks, who has a new book out called Superkid. And a little bit later, we're going to talk to Dennis Hopeless, the author of X-Men Season 1. Right now, I'd like to introduce you to my esteemed co-host. First of all, we've got the astounding Tim Lyons.
Where were the other drugs going?
I'm sorry, Tim Lyons!
Swear to me!
Sorry, that's all I got. That's all I got, man. Is it? I told you we would use this. One day, we would cut this out and use this once you were done with those Reese's Puffs.
This is what on Comic Book Late Night passes for continuity. And now, here is Gloria the Dinosaur.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
That's a new accent there, Gloria the Dinosaur. You didn't have that last time.
Listen, I'm full of them. I can come up with accent anytime I like. Yes?
There's where the other drugs were going.
I think that's where Romanoff's accent went. I think that now Black Widow has an accent, but only when she's a dinosaur. All right. Anyway, Gloria is our official chat screener, and we always enjoy talking to Gloria the Dinosaur, no matter what accent she happens to be using. And Tim Lyons, let's go right into this week's edition of Know Your Batmobiles. Here's the Batmobile. Do you think it's from 1979, 1984, or 1986? Tim, would you care to hazard a guess?
I'm going to hazard a guess of, what was it, 79? I'm gonna do 79. So I went all Jay Leno there for a second.
Is this the night where everybody's doing a different... I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it.
Okay. 79. I'm going to venture a guess of 79.
I thought maybe she was going to say something, but...
I was going to go 86.
Okay. And tonight's trivia question.
We don't know what we're doing.
It's already derailing. All right. Tonight's trivia question is, what X-Men villain was placed on the Heroes team by the Beyonder during Secret Wars? That's the question. And right now, those of you watching live, write your answers in the chat box, and we'll come back at the end of the show and tell you who got it right first. Gloria, did somebody have it already?
Not yet.
Okay, well, we'll just sit here and wait.
I'm going to look awkwardly at the camera, since that is apparently my function today.
Oh my gosh, somebody got it!
Okay, great, cool.
Wow, that's maybe the easiest question we've ever asked and the longest it took someone to answer it. And now it's time for today's fan art. Tonight's blah, blah, blah. Tonight's fan art comes from 92 Kickstart, and I had the wrong thing written down, but it is 92 Kickstart. And he drew this fabulous picture of the Thing battling the Hulk, and sent me that just the other day. So cool, good job there, 92 Kickstart. I really like this picture, and that is this week's fan art. Somebody sent me this thing, Tim Lyons, that should completely and utterly baffle and embarrass you. Senior Nerd sent us this, and he seems to think that you totally look like Del Toro.
You know who Del Toro is, right?
Guillermo del Toro,
yeah, of course. Well, apparently...
I went to film school, come on.
Yeah, right, but...
I went to film school!
Apparently you look like that guy. What do you think? Do you think you look like that guy?
I would venture that he went to film school, too. And I think that's just like a mold that anytime you go to film school, like they have you go through this mold before you... No? Okay.
No?
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah, yeah.
There's a bit of a similarity,
right? There's a little
Most
bit.
Most people say Kevin Smith.
I think he has crazier eyes than you.
He's got a wilder beard than I do. Guillermo del Toro does.
I have seen your beard wilder, though.
Yeah. I did just.
But is that like flattering, or does that bother you?
Dude makes good movies. I don't care.
Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and go right into an interview. This is our interview with Christina Barr from the Gorgeous Geeks. She's going to talk about her new book, Superkid. And here we go. Let's get right into it.
Hey
Hey everybody, this is Captain Logan, and I am here with Christina Barr of the Gorgeous Geeks. Hi, Christina.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm good. It's good to have you on the program again.
Good to be here.
For those of you who don't know Christina, she and I have talked a number of times. I've been on her channel, she's been on my channel, and I've talked to some of her sisters. She has a YouTube channel called The Gorgeous Geeks. They've been around for quite a while now, and I met them in person last year at the Metropolis Superman celebration. Christina asked to be back on the show again because she has a new book out right now called Superkid. And Christina, give us a quick rundown. What is Superkid about?
It's a story about a little boy named Felix Brown who has a very overactive imagination, who has convinced himself that he actually has superpowers. So he teams up with a little girl who is too smart for her age, and he doesn't realize she has a big crush on him. And so she kind of gets him into more trouble, but tries to keep him out of the, more life-threatening situations. And so it's a really funny book, reading kids say the darndest things, because they have this really overactive imagination, and they say things that are really funny to older readers that maybe kids would go over their head. There's a lot of wit for kids, but a lot of little kids still really like it too. So I'm really glad with the feedback that I've been getting so far. But it's if it was a film, it'd be really a family film, and it's really for all ages.
How much personal experience went into this? Because you're writing pretty much you're writing from the perspective of a 6-year-old. And how much did you draw from your own childhood, and how difficult did you find it trying to remember what being 6 was like?
Well, I got the idea because my dad tells all these crazy stories about when he was a kid. So there's at least 4 main stories in the book that if you read it, you're like, this is really crazy. But it really kind of happened that way. It's just tweaked, some are tweaked quite a bit, some are not tweaked that much, but it's all, based off of experiences with him. And as far as taking it from me and some of it's from my sisters, there's just little bits and pieces, but mostly I got the idea from my dad. And as far as being a kid, and going back and remembering what that was like, I don't know, when I was talking to you a little bit earlier, when I write a character, I'm just kind of in the moment and become this character. So I don't know how to really explain it without sounding like a crazy person. But
well, a lot of it is probably subconscious then, because I think you have a pretty good voice for the character, and when you're writing somebody like that, that's because you're. A, you're not 6 years old, and B, you're not a boy. So it can't be the easiest thing in the world to write from the opposite sex, and also to try to get that childlike voice down without coming off as either too really a little kiddish to the point of like obnoxiously cutesy, or on the other end being too serious for a kid or too smart for a kid, that kind of thing. I'm impressed with you if you didn't even find yourself thinking about any of that, and if it just came out that way, because I think that your character has you have a pretty good unreliable narrator with your character, which comes out pretty well.
Well, thank you. Well, yeah, it just kind of did come out as far as my writing for all my characters, because I do mostly write in first-person perspective, and all of the characters' voices just kind of happen that way. Without kind of much effort to it. So I thought of Felix, even his, some things were thought out, like as his name. I wanted his name to be really simple because his mind is so overactive, and he believes he's so amazing and super and powerful. So I wanted his name to be kind of as ordinary as possible. So I looked up common names, like, okay, last name Brown. And then I'm like, oh, well, Felix is a little different, even though it's, really common. So from then I decided he would be half Hispanic. And then from the little details that I worked out, I just went and flowed with it and made a story.
There are a number of illustrations in the book. Did you do those yourself?
Yes, I did. I was going to have someone else do it, but it was kind of taking a while, and I was kind of on a deadline. So when others can't do it for you, you just got to, do it yourself. I've been drawing for, really a long time, and I had kind of fallen back on it to write more. So I kind of had to get back in the groove with it. So I was really pleased with, at first when I was done with it, I didn't know if I loved it as much, but now, I get like warm fuzzies when I look at my little characters. I'm glad I did it.
Did you plan those illustrations from the start, or was that kind of an afterthought, or?
I didn't care about really doing illustrations in the book, but everyone told me that I should because, well, when kids pick up books, they flip through, and see if there's some pictures at least. So I was going to end up having more, but I wanted it done at a certain time, and it was just kind of really hard for me to draw it, to be honest, because I have kind of a hard time drawing off the top of my head, but so it just kind of worked out the way it worked out. I didn't even really imagine them to look like even how I drew them. It just happened that way.
Well, it definitely has its own style. I could see you taking that style and running with it and doing maybe like a storybook or something.
Well, yeah. Well, my friends looked at it. They're like, "Well, that's definitely your style." And sometimes you don't think about when you're doing it yourself that you have your own particular style. People recognize it as my own. So I'm like, well, that's cool. And there might be a Superkid book at least maybe a graphic novel or some comics in the future. I don't know if I want to go as far as do a cartoon myself or anything. That just takes entirely too much of my time. But as far as some more illustrations, yeah, that's definitely a possibility. And I'm talking to some people right now about that happening. So I believe in milking the cow as much as you can.
And where can people find the book?
You can go to Amazon.com. You can either get it as a paperback or you can get it on Kindle. And or if you see that the Gorgeous Geeks are coming to a con near you, if you go to www.thegorgeousgeeks.com and we're going to a con, I most likely might have a table, or I most likely might have one in my purse. So stalk me.
And what are the prices on that?
It is $10.99, but on Kindle it is $4.99.
Okay, awesome. Well, Christina, thanks for being on the show again.
Thank you for having me.
And I hope everybody takes a look at your book, and I'm sure that we will talk again sometime down the road.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, everybody, this is Captain. All right, first item of business on the news today. Cullen Bunn, who I've talked to on the show a couple times, a guy I really, really like, he's taking over Venom. He's going to be writing Venom after the next issue that's about to come out. So this last issue, he wrote with Rick Remender, and now Remender's getting off the book, and there's speculation that Remender probably is going to be doing some other project. We don't know what yet, because Remender's a pretty big name. He's got to be, if he's leaving a book, he's taking on another book, probably. And so Cullen got Venom, which is a pretty decently selling book, and it's been going for almost 20 issues now, and I can't wait to see what he does with it. This last issue that he co-wrote with Remender was great, so I'm excited. I can't wait to see what he does with it, and I actually talked to him on Twitter earlier today, and I said, good job. Hey, there is some new content for Arkham City. This is going to be available May 29th, and you can play Harley Quinn's Revenge, which is supposed to be the final chapter of Arkham City. And I think it's supposed to also be available with the Game of the Year edition, so if you haven't played Arkham City yet and you're planning on buying the Game of the Year edition, you'll get it already in that pack. But anyway, it's kind of exciting to have more content for Arkham City. I'm not usually a big fan of downloadable content, but that game was already really big and giant and massive, so to add things to it that you don't necessarily have to get to a game that's already super thick and awesome, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, and they did that with at least the first Star Wars Force Unleashed game. I don't know if they did that with the second one. I had the first one, so I had to download the other missions because I wanted to fight Luke Skywalker.
Oh, did they do that? Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so you got to fight him as the apprentice.
That is a game I really enjoyed.
Yeah, it was really good. I liked it.
I read enough bad reviews of it. The second one I didn't.
Take a look at it, but I really liked the first one. Did you play the second one?
I played the demo of the second one. And I did like the fact that you could actually hack off limbs with a lightsaber finally, because that seems mildly appropriate.
Well, Tim Lyons, knowing you as long as I have, I'm not surprised that that's where your priorities lie. The next item in the news, Iron Man 3 is going to start filming this month, and it's supposedly going to be based on 2004's Extremis arc. So, really recent story, relatively, to base a big motion picture on. And John Cheadle has been confirmed as coming back to play War Machine.
Glory the Dinosaur, did you want to say something?
So excited!
Glory the Dinosaur is very excited about Iron Man 3. And there was, of course, a new director, Shane Black, who is writing and directing the film, and he says that it's supposedly going to be very, very different from what we've had before. There's no word on a villain yet, but chances are very, very slim that it's going to be Mandarin, as apparently Shane Black doesn't like Mandarin, and Mandarin doesn't exactly really go with the Extremis arc. So a lot of people were hoping for that, especially because it was foreshadowed a lot, but that's probably not going to happen. Anyway, so that's what's going on with Iron Man 3. Sean Ashmore spoke out this week about the possibility of coming back to play Iceman in a potential X-Men 4. This is barely news, just because, he just said something and then a bunch of people ran with it and were like, hey, maybe this means there'll be an X-Men 4. Just because somebody still is contractually obligated to play a role, if they happen to come back and do another movie, does not necessarily mean that that movie is going to get made. And considering how extremely popular First Class was, and that they're already talking about, and I think actually working on sequels, I really, really doubt we'll ever see X-Men 4. So this is not news. I wanted to put in the news that is not news.
Okay.
That's the whole thing.
That's so. I don't know. That's news to me that news isn't news. News being no, wait. But yeah, you're right. If somebody's contractually obligated to play a character, that doesn't necessarily mean the movie's going to be made. Them being contractually obligated, sometimes they're paid like some sort of retainer. It's part of their overall compensation package, but that is still a lot cheaper than making an entire movie.
Yeah, sure.
So.
And that's kind of... I think it's kind of a problem with the internet age these days, Tim, where every time somebody says anything, a person who's even remotely credible, people start thinking, hey, this means this thing's going to happen. He's Sean Ashmore. He played a role in a movie. That doesn't mean that another one's going to get made, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Although that was the first sign in the video game world when John St. John was specifically talking, or he was at this... somebody asked him about Duke Nukem Forever before it came out.
Right.
And one of the first signs that it was going to come out is that he said he was specifically not supposed to talk about Duke Nukem Forever. And then he's like, wait a second, think about why I'm not supposed to talk about Duke Nukem Forever. And it was one of those things. But
well,
that was
with
pretty...
this, his quote was pretty much, boy, I wish they'd make another one. I mean, that's pretty much what it was,
Yeah.
So, well, this next thing is news. There was a near mint copy of Batman #1 sold this week for $850,000, which was a record for that book. Action Comics and Detective #1 broke their records just in the last couple of years, and I keep thinking it's really interesting that all of these big, really, really rare, important books are being sold at giant record prices during a recession. I keep wondering what that's about. But anyway, once again, we have another one. And that's... there's Batman #1 if you don't remember what it looks like. Okay, next thing that's going on. Hit Girl is getting her own miniseries, which is really exciting for me because I really like that character. Both Millar and Romita are working on it, which is great. And it's supposed to be taking place in between Kick-Ass 1 and 2. So that's supposed to start June 27th is when you can get the first issue of that. Tell your friends. That looks really exciting. Here's what the cover looks like. And next order of business. Hey, guess what? Avengers broke all the records, or at least it broke most of the records. And if you haven't heard by now, by the way, we're not going to talk too much about Avengers because I know there's some folks watching that still haven't seen it, and so we're going to be really hush-hush and not say anything. I can't believe there's still people in the world that have not seen it because it's already hit $800 million worldwide. I can't believe there's anyone that didn't see it when it made that much, and it could break $1 billion by Sunday, Tim.
Really?
That's the projection, yeah.
That's fantastic.
And it opened here opening weekend at $200 million.
Yeah, that makes sense. It was great. It was awesome. Everybody should see it.
Everybody should see it.
Pretty cool.
The only other thing I wanted to mention about Avengers, again, not giving anything away, is you've probably heard by now, at least, that somebody dies in Avengers. And Whedon has come on record to say that it wasn't his idea, which I think is really funny, and I really felt the need to bring this up because immediately when people got out of this movie, they went, "Oh, he killed somebody off. He's Whedon. He always does that." And he wanted for the record everyone to know that this was actually Kevin Feige who did this because it was the producer Kevin Feige whose stipulation from the beginning was, "Hey, Joss Whedon, somebody must die," and or this particular person rather must die.
Yeah.
And Whedon said, "Okay, fine. I totally understand why you're doing that, and I think it makes sense. I just want you to know that I'm going to deny that it was my idea, because it wasn't my idea, and everyone's going to think it was my fault. After Serenity, and after a lot of things in Buffy, and Giles got killed off in the comics in Buffy between season 8 and 9, and or I think like at the end of 8. So things like that. So anyway.
Yeah, sure.
So here is tonight's poll, and the poll is, would you want to see an X-Men 4? If they made that movie, would you even care? Would you have any interest? So go ahead and put your answers right now in the comments there. If you're watching live, yes or no, whatever you want to say. And Gloria the Dinosaur will tally those up for us, and after I get done with the tweet reviews, we will take a look at the poll. Here is the cover for the week. Today's cover of the week is Spawn number 219. Michael Golden's cover. I want to say this is the last cover Michael Golden is doing. He's been doing covers for the last 11 or 12 issues. I just met him at a convention a few weeks back, and I think this is his best cover of everything he's done. I think it's really fantastic, really beautiful. And so now it's time for some 140 character tweet reviews. Here we go. All right, first thing I wanted to show you is Daredevil number 12. I gave this 4 out of 4. I love Matt's new romance, nice backstory for Foggy, impressive how this down-to-earth love story ties in with mega crime. And then we go to Amazing Spider-Man number, I've got these all over the place, Amazing Spider-Man number 685. I found it to be somewhat of a letdown, Doc Ock's ultimate plan. But the end reveal is epic, so I have no idea where this is headed now, and I'm still kind of liking it. 3 out of 4. And then we've got Ultimate Comic Spider-Man number 10. I really wish this book, by the way, was still just called Ultimate Spider-Man. The last couple of years now, they've been doing this Ultimate Comics thing, and it gets really silly because then you have like Ultimate Comics The Ultimates, Ultimate Comics New Ultimates. Anyway.
Well, but then there's always Ultimate The Ultimates. I mean, that would be weird.
Yeah, yeah, and they've done that. A lot of really engaging dialogue between Miles and his uncle. Dysfunctional family playing out in costumes. Really tense stuff. 4 out of 4. And then we've got Venom number 17. Cullen Bunn's doing great so far. Really excited to see Brock back. End reveal is sad and huge. 3.5 out of 4. Avengers vs. X-Men number 3. Love what's going on with Wolverine. Really interested in this role reversal between Iron Man and Cap. The pace is slowing down a little. 3 out of 4. Cover of the week, Spawn number 219. Still not keen on how all the revelations come from people just standing around and talking, but the ending is crazy and worth it. 3 out of 4. We have Action Comics number 9. Kind of scratching my head as to why we're suddenly taking a peek at President Superman, but some really fun sci-fi stuff. I just gave this one a 2.5 out of 4. I didn't really care for it. Earth 2 number 1. I went ahead and picked up all the Earth 2 stuff that came out this week, or last week rather. Scott's art is breathtaking, but the setup's a little too easy. Wish we could get to know the Trinity longer here. Still intrigued. 3 out of 4. Here is World's Finest number 1. Huntress and Power Girl. Just not quite my thing. Wish we could explore Helena on Earth 2 rather than in the New 52, but the dynamic works well. 3 out of 4. And finally, speaking of Arkham City, here's Arkham Unhinged number 2. I didn't plan on reading this, but I really enjoyed the first one, so I'm reading this. Loving all the intrigue, really worth exploring despite knowing how it all turns out, and Gordon's character is spot on. 3.5 out of 4. And now it's time once again for Ask Captain Logan. For the next couple minutes, we're going to take some questions and see if anybody has anything they want to ask me about comics, comicdom in general, or any of the news we just talked about, anything like that. 5 minutes. Let's have some audience participation, shall we?
Gloria the Dinosaur, any questions so far?
Yes, Sid Part 2 asks, who would win in a fight, Mario or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Really, it's gonna be one of those shows.
Trick question. Mario is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh man, I didn't realize that. What do you think, Tim?
Between Mario and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, that's
yeah. I mean, what's Mario gonna do? Eat some shrooms?
If they can defeat the Technodrome every time, I'm pretty sure they can beat him. Okay, next question, Gloria.
Which issues did you pick up at Free Comic Book Day last weekend?
Oh, I got a lot of stuff, and actually I've been planning on doing a review on those. I've just been busy with a lot of other stuff and haven't gotten to it. But that's a really good question. I don't have them sitting right here, so I can tell you exactly what I got. I got like all the DC stuff, all the Marvel stuff. I got the Image 20th anniversary thing. I got most everything. I even got that Burt Ward thing. I haven't read that yet, but I got the Burt Ward thing.
Sweet.
Gloria, anything else?
Yes. Spackman asks, do you have any ideas of what to pick up at my comic shop? I have a 20% off coupon.
Oh, okay. Cool. I would go for a trade because they're more expensive than singles.
Fiscal advice with Captain Logan.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the need because I'm interviewing Dennis Hopeless tonight to say maybe X-Men Season 1, which was not something I was extremely interested in until I realized I was going to be talking to Dennis Hopeless, and then I ended up really, really liking it. So that's a possibility. There's I don't know, the new 52 trades just started, the hardcovers. So if there's anything big that you were looking into but you never actually tried out with that stuff all just came out. I mean, I could suggest all kinds of things, but go ahead, Gloria.
Yes, Lego Geek really wants to know what is the worst comic you've ever read.
Ooh, the worst comic I've ever... See, you know, I don't know. I actually don't know the answer to that. Because the problem... I think about this sometimes, and then I go, all I can think of is good comics right now. Like I'm always like, what have I read recently? And then, I haven't read a lot of really, really terrible things lately, so, I don't know. I should figure this out. Maybe make a list or something. Comic? No, I didn't read the Doom comic.
I read the Doom comic. It was simultaneously the best and worst comic I've ever read. Of course, that's a pretty small sample size.
I'm sorry, I'm being terrible. I can't think of anything right now. I mean, I've read some things that I just don't really care for. There's a lot of Spawn that just doesn't work at all, and stuff like that. And I'm not a big fan of some of Frank Miller's Batman. Actually, don't lynch me, but I really don't care at all for All-Star Batman. But that's not the worst thing I've ever read. Anyway, I need to think about that. I really do.
Good.
Okay, Hyperion Hotel wants to know, which do you like better, Buffy or Angel?
Oh, Angel, hands down. Hands down. I love Buffy. But Angel I liked all the way through. Even Season 4, which most people say is the worst season. And I concur, but I still like a lot of things about it. Buffy kind of derailed by Season 5 and kind of came back on track a little bit in 6. And I liked a lot of things about 7. But Angel was working for me all the way through. And I just think that between those two characters, I prefer to watch Angel.
At least by himself. Because, you know,
when he was with Buffy, he was a little bit of the whiny boyfriend, but then when he got on his own, and, you know, he lived in the Hyperion Hotel, which is why that guy's name's Hyperion Hotel.
Good call.
Gloria, you got one more?
Yes. Lego Geek wants to know if you want Firefly to have an ongoing series.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm somewhat surprised that it hasn't happened yet, to be perfectly honest with you. Considering that we got Buffy season 9, which I honestly didn't even expect to happen after 8, but I guess it sold that well. They decided to keep going with it. And considering other companies are trying this sort of thing now too. Smallville getting season 11, which I really actually meant to review this week and totally forgot. But I guess all I'll say is I didn't care for that at all. Anyway, I like that writer, but I just don't think that Smallville works in comic form after they didn't have any place to start a foundation for a series anyway, and Lexus has total amnesia, so who cares? Anyway, so I don't know. There are other series that totally could have more seasons of comic books, and it would be a fantastic idea. Firefly is one of them. Anyway, well, hey, thanks everybody for your questions. And now it's time for a brand new song from Alex Boyd. Alex, we had on the show a couple weeks ago. Well, I guess a month ago, because we do this, bi-monthly. So it was a month ago now.
A couple shows ago.
Thank you. And Alex just sent me a song today that he wrote about Batman. And he didn't have the song when he came on, and he sent it to me today of all days. And I thought, hey, I'll go ahead and show this to you guys. So I'm hoping to have Alex on the channel a little bit more often. And so here is once again Alex Boyd singing his new Batman song called I Am Gotham. Here we go.
Had a new friend of mine on Facebook say he wanted a Batman song, so I wanted to buy some new source material to write some songs about, so I got this right here. Volume 1, The Court of Owls. I guess it's the new Batman that's out. I'm not an expert on comics. In fact, I'm pretty noobish when it comes to comic book stores. I'm more of a gamer, or at least I was in the past.
Skyscrapers to the suit below the street, on the faces of your neighbors and mine so strange to me. What is Gotham? sprawling waste of the Kremlin scenes. Playing stupid games, get put in jail, get out, do it all again. What is Gotham? A playground for the corrupt. But beware, I will erupt. You don't wanna see, so you ask me. What is Gotham? What is Gotham? You don't wanna see it if you ask me. Well, I'm Gotham. Woo! See the silver shining in the sky. In the shadows is my safe life. Your ghosts, wings, bats, have claws. Don't cross the line that I've drawn. What is Gotham? Sprawling waste of the Kremlin scenes. Playing stupid games, get put in jail, get out, do it all again. What is Gotham? A playground for the corrupt. But beware, I will erupt. You wanna see, so you ask me. What is Gotham? What is Gotham? You wanna see it if you ask me. I'm Gotham. I'm
All right, that is Alex Boyd's new song. Go check him out on YouTube. He's The Lone Gunman on YouTube with a couple X's around it and some underscores. Tim, we really should get some, like, things underneath us.
Lower thirds.
Yeah, we totally have the ability to do that. Graphics. But I keep forgetting to do that. So, yeah, we totally could if we wanted to. Anyway, let me know if you can't find that. Anyway, boy, we're having quite the show tonight, Tim. Now it's time for tonight's interview with Dennis Hopeless, writer on X-Men Season 1. I had a really fun time talking to him, and I had a great conversation.
Oh, that's cute. He's named after this show. Hopeless. No.
Wah, wah, wah.
I don't have... Do we have the sad trombone? Can we play the sad trombone? We can't play the sad trombone.
No, I don't think we have the Tim Lyons Just Got Fired music either.
Oh.
You're fired. I have your job now.
You have a dinosaur laughing at you because you got fired.
Okay, now it's time to talk to Dennis Hopeless, and without further ado, here is the Comic Book Grill. Hey everybody, this is Captain Logan, and I'm here with Dennis Hopeless, and we're here to talk about X-Men Season 1. Dennis, how are you, man?
I'm doing quite well.
Season 1 just came out, a couple months ago?
Yeah, I believe it came out in March.
And there are, I want to say 4 of these. There's also a Spider-Man one and a Daredevil one, and who's the 4th one?
The first one was Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four, yeah. And Dennis Hopeless did X-Men. Actually, Cullen Bunn, who I've talked to several times, did the Spider-Man one. And Dennis, the first thing I wanted to ask you is how you landed Season 1, and what kind of freedom did you have in retelling and modernizing the origin, or did you have, like, very specific things that you had to do with it?
It was interesting. I got approached last, I guess March 2011. I got approached by Marvel. I had sent them some samples in 2010, and I got approached to do Legion of Monsters, a miniseries. They asked if I would pitch it. I pitched it, and when I was in the process of getting my outline approved for Legion of Monsters, which getting any Marvel work at that point was like completely mind blowing and a dream come true, and I was crazy excited to be doing this Legion of Monsters miniseries. I was waiting on outline notes, and my editor emailed me and said, hey, I might have an X-Men thing. Would you be interested in pitching me an X-Men graphic novel? Which completely blew my mind. And I said, yes, definitely. I don't care what it is. Yes, please. They didn't tell me that much about it. He told me that Jamie McKelvey was going to be the artist and that it was equivalent to a 5-issue story. It was going to be a graphic novel that took place during the first year of the X-Men. So it was the original 5. And that's sort of all I got at first. So when I pitched it, the series, I didn't realize how continuity strict it was going to be, and I didn't really realize all the parameters of it. So the pitch and outlining process was actually kind of me figuring out what season 1 was going to be about, because all I knew is I was doing a story that took place in the first years of the X-Men, and then I didn't want it to be exactly the same thing as X-Men First Class, which is an amazing series that does kind of the same thing. Mm-hmm. So my early pitches were based on that, just on what can we do that's new. But anytime I would send them anything that sort of changed the continuity or took a step back, they kept being like, well, no, we really want it to take place during the first year, and we really don't want to bring in any new villains, and we don't want to change any of the continuity. And I started to kind of come around to what they were looking for. Now that I've talked to those editors more now, and I was brought in fairly late in the process, and I think they just didn't realize that they hadn't explained it to me from the beginning. So I was probably frustrating them just as much as I was frustrating myself. But yeah, once I figured out that it needed to sort of retell those stories while also creating something new, that's when I came up with the concept that I did. I think every team kind of did a different thing, but what Jamie and I did was to sort of dance between the raindrops of of the first year of the X-Men and tell stories in between all those battles that Stan and Jack did. Mm-hmm. So that was my pitch. My pitch was, let's do this like Friday Night Lights. I don't know if you or your listeners are familiar with the television show Friday Night Lights.
I've heard of it.
It's fantastic. A lot of people don't, a lot of comics guys don't want to watch it because it's a football show. And it is a football show. But the way the show works is almost every episode has a football game in it. But the football game is maybe the last 5 minutes of the show. And what the show's actually about is all the character drama that takes place in the days and weeks leading up to that football game. So the football game is just kind of the capper and the big important event that the town is all interested in throughout the course of it. So that's kind of what we wanted to do. We'd retell portions of those early fights with the X-Men while showing what the kids and Xavier and Magneto and everybody is doing in their personal life in the time in between. And then we would show like a different angle on the fights where the things that had happened in their personal life were coming through and coming out during those fights as well. Without actually changing any continuity, we were showing building on that.
That's what I really liked about it, because it wasn't just rehashing it. Because, like you said, this has kind of been done before. Going back and retelling the origin. Right. So to give us more stuff instead of simply retelling it, I think was precisely the way to go.
Right. Well, and I think I was lucky, honestly. Of the season 1 books, the X-Men have the least superhero origin. I mean, they're just mutants. And Stan Lee has said in countless interviews he was tired of having to come up with superhero origins, so he's just well, they're mutants. So the origin of the X-Men is they go to school for mutants, So I know with Cullen in the Spider-Man one, I'm friends with Cullen. He had a really hard time figuring out initially what to do to retell that Spider-Man origin, because how many times have we seen the Spider-Man origin?
I bet that was a nightmare at first.
That's right. So that first section of his book, he basically just has to tell a story everybody's seen 100 times and then go from there. Whereas I didn't have that so much, because I got to show. I essentially took Jean showing up at the school and completing the team to be the inciting incident of the X-Men, and I in the actual issue, it's only a couple pages where that happens. So my first issue chapter is all about Jean showing up and how the team is complete but not ready yet, kind of a thing.
Did you like getting to do a big standalone thing instead of having to split this up into issues? And did that change the process at all?
It didn't for me because of the way we came up. the way we decided to solve the problem of not just retelling those stories was to do it episodically, because I wanted to be able to tell a character story where, like, this is how the team comes together, and this is how they gel, and this is how the relationships form. I didn't want to be 100% stuck to the chronology of those first 18 issues. Like, I wanted to be able to skip some stuff and jump around in time a little bit so that I could tell that one character story. So therefore, it kind of broke it up into issues anyway, like each chapter.
So if it had been a miniseries, you would have written it exactly the same
Exactly
way.
the same. I did. I wrote it as a miniseries, and I wrote it in 20-page pieces, culminating in a fight. You know, each one culminates in one of the classic fights.
What kind of time frame did you have to put it together? Because, I mean, obviously, you didn't have like a month in between or anything.
Yeah, it was an interesting schedule to keep, because they offered it to me in the summer, but I don't think we got the first issue approved and ready to go until late August. Just because it takes a while when stuff's kind of far out and editors are busy. It takes a while to get things rolling. Plus, when you're new at Marvel, like I was and am, they kind of help you out through every part of the process. You know what I mean? Like, you turn in like a loose outline and a tight outline, and you work with the editor through everything.
Oh, wow.
So it took a while to kind of get things going. And then once the first issue, I believe once Jamie started working on the first issue, we found out they were going to do a hardcover, which pushed the schedule up a little bit tighter. So from that point on, we were rolling. Like, we had to get things done, had to get them done fast. Also, in the middle of my writing the third issue, I believe is when it was, our editor got let go.
Oh, geez.
Which was a nightmare for a lot of reasons. I mean, number one, Alejandro Arbona, I love him, and he's the guy that brought me into Marvel, and he got let go right in the middle of all of this. Also, when your editor gets let go, the group editor has to figure out what to do, because Tom Brevoort was the group editor, but I was mostly dealing with Alejandro. And at that point, Tom hadn't read everything. Tom hadn't done, he was the boss of my editor. So
Yeah.
He had to come in and figure out what we were doing. And that pushed us behind about another week. So, chapters 3 and 4 were really tight. And which isn't that hard on me. I'm a writer. I can write pretty fast. I can do an issue in a week. I can rewrite pretty fast. It was really, really tight for Jamie. And
yeah, right.
The colorist, Matt Wilson, what they were able to do in that time frame is amazing. I think the book looks incredible.
Yeah, and this is not extremely simplistic art. I mean, it's quite detailed.
Right. And some of that is Mike Norton came in and helped Jamie out a little bit with backgrounds and stuff.
Okay.
Because of the schedule, and those two together are an incredible force. But no, I couldn't be happier with the art, and that, I mean, I would think that anyway, but especially considering how tight the deadline was once we got going.
Well, a story thing I wanted to ask you about. I was a little surprised to see Jean Grey in your version commenting on how manipulative and dangerous Professor X is, and I was wondering how difficult you found it to insert that kind of realism and awareness for these characters and still keep all the events the same.
It was, I mean, that was the challenge for me, was trying to make the characters a little more fully formed than they were, because at the time, those issues are just about fights, essentially.
Yes.
Part of it is, I think, the number of comics they put out at the time. Like, not as much time was being spent on each one. But also, I mean, comics were a simpler thing at the time. It was mostly just, fantasy fight stories and stuff. So the character personalities that we know and love weren't, I mean, they were kind of there. It's not like they weren't there, but they weren't really fleshed out because there wasn't a lot of time for the characters to shine. When you have a comic where 90% of the pages are some sort of fight. Also, they're dated. I mean, I love those issues as much as anyone, but they're pretty dated. I mean, the kids are all wearing checkered suits when they go out and they go to beatnik bars and do all sorts of things that modern readers and modern teenagers aren't going to relate to at all.
Right.
And because I wasn't going to be focusing on the fights, I really needed to find the character moments that were important and the things in the characters' lives that would be interesting. The other thing is, I kind of think Professor X's philosophy is bullshit. I don't understand it. Like, I love the Martin Luther King versus Malcolm X analogy. I really like that idea. I don't understand how dressing kids up as freedom fighters and having them go punch people makes the world understand that humans and mutants are the same. Like, that, to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And I had to kind of figure that out before I could really get Professor X.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just the necessity of a comic book, right? I mean, you got powers, so you have to have action, because...
Right, exactly. And I think they've come up with a lot of reasons for that since then, and I think they've really evolved the ideas within the X-Men and done a lot of really interesting things since. But in those early stories, they kind of just glossed over it. Like, yeah, no, this is a school, but we don't go to class, we punch things.
I like, by the way, that your school has no classrooms.
Yes, well they were never in class. I mean, in the movies, they showed them in class, like, learning things, and I think it probably... Yeah, in the comics they do that too.
Yeah, they're doing that currently. I mean, with Wolverine and the X-Men.
Right, they definitely go to class. In the early issues, you never saw them in class. They were in the danger room or they were out fighting something. So yeah, I wanted to acknowledge those things and have a character. I think, especially Jean, at least the way that I've always seen Jean, she would question that, and she would be a little bit off. It would be off-putting for her to be brought to this school where this guy who she knows can read minds has convinced her parents it's the best place for her to be. And then she gets there, and it's not school. It's a place, you're going to fight these boys. And she's the only girl. She's very much an outcast when she gets there from her own life. She's been pulled out of her own life because she doesn't fit in anymore. And she's been put in this place that is insane. And she's expected to just accept it and go along with it. And I think getting at least one character to understand why it's important that they do this and to understand why this makes sense, that was really important for me. Like, I wanted the audience to get it and to understand that, yeah, you don't get to have a normal life, but you can do something great with your life. You can be something great. And so I liked the idea of Jean not buying in and having to experience that first year in order to kind of get there,
Yeah, well, and I think that made a lot of sense for her to be your focal character, because, like you said, her being kind of the outcast in a team of outcasts is kind of interesting.
Right.
Dennis, now that you've gotten your feet wet a little bit at Marvel, if you had the chance to work on any Marvel character or team, what would you do? What would be your go-to?
Yeah, I was a huge X-Men fan when I was a kid, so doing the X-Men was incredible. I realize it's not the current X-Men, and it was a one-off thing, but that was really a dream come true. A lot of characters that I love are hard to pitch because they're not necessarily going to sell. I love all the next wave characters. Like, I really like Elsa Bloodstone, and I got to use her in Legion of Monsters, but I don't think they're going to take a Dennis Hopeless Elsa Bloodstone ongoing series anytime soon. And the main reason being, I love all the mainstay characters and the big characters, but so much more has been done with them. It's harder to find that unique angle. Whereas, we haven't seen that much Elsa Bloodstone. You could do some really awesome Elsa and Legion of Monsters stuff. So if I could do any book, it would probably be Next Wave or an Elsa book or some other weird, obscure character that has a lot of room to grow.
That's really interesting. Your answer. I asked Cullen Bunn the same thing once, and he said nearly that exact same thing, and his go-to was Devil Dinosaur.
Yeah, Cullen's really weird. Cullen's extremely old. I think he's 85. So all of the books that Cullen wants to work on are things that no one under the age of 40 has any idea what he's talking about. Like, he really likes Micronauts and
yes, he does.
Night and all these things that I have no understanding. But it's awesome that Cullen loves that stuff, because when you read his pitches for other things, he's always pulling elements, like these weird things from the deep, dark past of the Marvel Universe,
Yeah.
70s Marvel Universe. That's cool.
Since you just retold the X-Men's origin, I feel like I got to ask what your thoughts are on the First Class movie.
I liked it a lot. I think they had an interesting challenge because they couldn't just do what I did, because those characters, we've already seen movies with those characters or modern times,
Yeah.
So I love the concept of doing it in the 60s. I love the aesthetic of that movie. Actually, one of my favorite Blu-rays is that one, because the behind the scenes little documentary segments they have on there where they talk to like the composer and the costume designers and the set designers are really in depth, and I love listening to passionate people talk about what they do. And they really put a lot of energy into making that thing like it basically takes place in like James Bond's 1960s, which is a really cool idea. And it's not a perfect movie, but I really liked the aesthetic, and I liked what they did, the characterization, and that they made Magneto and Xavier something other than just old men sitting around playing chess with teenagers, you know.
Right. Well, and I think it was kind of a sleeper hit. Like, I don't think anybody expected it to be as good as it was.
Right. Well, X3 went a long way to making us have low expectations, I think.
Yeah. Well, there's that. Well, Dennis, thanks a lot for coming on and being with me tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry I ramble so much.
No. That's fine. That's fine. The point is to listen to you talk about your work, so that's totally okay. Hey, everybody, be sure and check out X-Men Season 1. It's on sale right now. It's you can get it digitally or in hardcover. Hardcover retails for $24.99, and I think it's like $20 digitally, I think is what I saw. And anyway, thanks a lot for being with me, Dennis.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I actually I have at least one ongoing series starting up in December, I believe. So that'll.
Oh, geez, really? Can you say anything about it?
It's awesome. I can't announce yet, but I will be taking over at least one book at Marvel. Yeah, starting in December. Hopefully this summer they'll announce what that is. But look for my name on stands eventually.
When it comes out, will you come back?
Definitely, yes, definitely I will.
Fantastic. Well, we'll see you in December, and we will look forward to your awesome book.
All right.
Thanks again, Dennis.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks.
Holy crap, Batman!
They've got Wolverine.
They've got Storm.
Even Beast.
Right where those mutants belong.
In a can. New from Chef Boyardee. All your favorite X-Men in pasta shapes and excellent sauce. We got 'em. And only you can set them free. New X-Men pasta. It's not just a meal, it's an adventure.
Well, tonight's Obscure Character of the Week is brought to you by Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister, who always has the weirdest plans. You know, like trapping the X-Men in a pasta can.
I remember the last time I was trapped in a pasta can.
It's time for Obscure Character of the Week. Here we go.
Tonight's Obscure Character of the Week is Morph, who's also known as Changeling. When he first came into the X-Men in 1967, that was his name, Changeling, Kevin Sidney, and his name was later changed to Morph because DC had a character named Changeling and they had the name copyrighted, so they later on changed it to Morph. But anyway, he started out working for the villain organization Factor 3, and the whole thing about Factor 3 was they were trying to start World War 3. That was their whole thing. We want to start another giant world war, and they were run by a guy called Mutant Master, and it turned out that Mutant Master actually wasn't a mutant at all, but in fact a giant evil alien space guy, and so he eventually Morph decided, because he didn't like working for a big evil alien guy, that he would try to go straight, and so he went to Professor X and tried to join the X-Men, and part of this was also because he revealed that he had a terminal illness and he was about to die, so he wanted to, do the right thing before he died, right? So he joined the X-Men, and Professor X had him masquerade as himself, because, he's a changeling and he can change shape, that's what he does, and so he actually pretended to be Professor X for a while, and as Professor X had to go off and prepare for some other alien invasion, of all things. And so he led the team against a guy called Grotesque, and he got killed. And the X-Men thought that Professor X died, and they had a funeral, and they mourned and everything. And the Professor X came back and was like, "Nope, wasn't me." And later on, there's some time travel, extra dimensional thing that I won't go into that later brings him back as Morph, and he joins the Exiles, and he's kind of their comic relief character. So that's what he's mostly known for later on, is being in the Exiles. There's some stuff with Mojo and Weapon X. And I once thought that Morph was just a made-up character for the 90s TV show. That's the only place I had ever known him from.
Yep.
And it wasn't even until I researched this that I realized that there was a character named Changeling in the comics that was based on. And he pretty much was just existed in that to be killed off in the first episode so that they could show you what kind of a show this was going to be, and that they were actually okay with killing people off.
He was the guy that dies to prove the situation's serious.
Yeah, exactly. And then later on, it turns out he didn't die at all because they brought him back. So it turns out they really didn't kill anybody off of that show. Exactly. And yeah, so anyway, but yeah, that's pretty much Morph. And if you have an idea for obscure character of the week or some fan art you want to show off, any suggestions you have for the show, anything like that, you can always personal message me at Geekvolution, and I'd love to hear from you. You can also go to wearegeeksnotnerds.com, check out our awesome content there. Also click on the Comic Vault, see what I have for sale on eBay right now from the Vault. And if there's anything you want to send to me to review or show off on the show, you can send it to Geekvolution, P.O. Box 14183, Lenexa, Kansas 66285. And usually this would be the part where we went into the comic book vault, but tonight we're going to do something entirely different, and it's going to be the top 10 comic book characters defined by their accessories. That's what we're doing tonight, the top 10 characters defined by their accessories. Here we go. Tim, do you have any guesses as to what some of the top 10 characters defined by their accessories might be?
It all depends. Do you consider Iron Man's suit an accessory?
No, for this case, I did not. So characters like him and Spawn and people like that that are really based totally on their suits and technology on them, I didn't count. I'm talking about accessories that they're holding or something like that, holding, writing on, things like that, that sort of thing.
So would like guns in the Punisher be considered an accessory?
It might be. It might be, sure.
Or maybe something like anything Batman happens to use any given point.
Yeah, could be. Yeah. Could be. Although I was making this a list of specific accessories, so Batman's actually not on this list, just because you could have Batman without a batarang. You know what I mean? You could have Batman without his grappling hook. But I'm sorry, Gloria, you have your head up.
Gambit! Oh my gosh, Gambit!
I'm sorry, what? Gambit.
I thought you were swearing.
She was just excited. I think
I know something.
Yes.
Well, let's find out without further ado what my top 10 characters defined by their accessories are. And remember that there are plenty more besides this. These are just the ones that I came up with. And feel free to think a little bit and see what you come up with on your own. My number 10. These are just the ones I thought of in the order I thought that they most were defined by their accessories or weapons. Number 10 is the Punisher.
Oh, okay.
You can't have the Punisher without guns. It just doesn't. It doesn't work. That's what he does. You got to have guns. Number 9 is the Penguin.
Umbrella.
You gotta have an umbrella.
Yes.
If you're the Penguin, and they and they do all kinds of things.
Yes, indeed.
Number 8 is Spider-Man, because Spider-Man could just crawl up walls and stuff, but he would not be as popular as he was if it were not for web shooters.
I figured the web shooter would be something that's kind of like Iron Man's suit, though, where that's like one of the defining characteristics of Spider-Man is that he has those web shooters.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
All right. Well. Fair enough. It's just like Iron Man, he kind of is the suit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We'll just go ahead and say that maybe the suit was Prada or something like that, and that would be considered an accessory.
Yeah. Well, and there's so many of these. It's difficult to choose.
Yeah, exactly.
It's difficult to choose. Totally. Number 7 is the Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot. I mean, like they are defined by their weapons. You think of Leonardo as the guy with the sword.
Yeah.
You think of Michelangelo as the guy with the nunchucks. The Ninja Turtles. Number 6 is Wonder Woman. You can't have Wonder Woman without the lasso of truth.
Yep. Yeah.
That is a defining accessory. Number 5, I made a tie between Hawkeye and Green Arrow. These guys are completely defined by the fact that they shoot bows and arrows.
That's true.
Number 4 is Green Lantern. You can't have you can't have Green Lantern without the ring and without the lantern. Otherwise, he would have no powers at all, and he would not be a Green Lantern. So, you know, completely defined by his accessories. Number 3 is Captain America.
Yeah, unbreakable shield.
Gotta have that shield. Yeah. Gotta have that shield. Number 2 is the Silver Surfer, because you can't surf without a surfboard.
True.
So you gotta have that. And in fact, in Rise of the Silver Surfer, which I thought was a goofy plot point, but he's actually nothing at all without a surfboard, because that's entirely where his powers come from, even. So once he takes that off, he's not even silver anymore in that film. And number 1, can you guess what my number 1 might be without looking at my screen?
I was trying to look at the screen, and no, I can't.
Number 1 is Thor.
The hammer.
Thor and his hammer, yeah. His entire character arc in the Thor film was about getting his hammer back.
Yeah.
You know, Thor and his hammer. Very important stuff. So anyway, that's my top 10, and I'm sure you came up with some cool ones on your own. Those of you watching on YouTube, feel free to leave some comments of other things you thought of. Gloria the Dinosaur, Gambit was my number 11.
Gambit almost made the list.
See, what was the guy from, the obscure guy from The Tick, Grenade Man or something like that?
Right.
Hand Grenade Man, whatever.
Hand Grenade Man?
Yeah, Hand Grenade Man. I think he would be defined by his accessory.
Yeah, he would be.
Yeah.
Anybody like that, sure. Yeah, I was kind of the really popular ones, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. No love to the obscure guys.
No, because that would have been a different list, because there's a lot of those.
Sure.
The answer to the trivia question today was Magneto, the X-Men villain placed in the Heroes team. Of course, it was Magneto. And Gloria, who gave us that first?
That was Spackman 619.
Oh, good job, Spackman. And the answer to the Batmobile question today was 1986.
Blast!
Doesn't that car look like it's from 1986, though?
Well, I don't know. I guess it kind of looks like the Ford SUX from RoboCop a little bit.
Gloria, I just realized that we never gave the results from the poll earlier, so let's go ahead and do that right now if you have the results. The poll question was, do you want to see X-Men 4? And let's find out what our folks on the live chat said.
Well, I had 7 no's, 4 yeses, and 1 Giles dies.
Nice. Very nice.
Well, hey, Tim and Gloria, thanks a lot for joining me tonight. I hope you guys had a great time. I know I did. I had lots and lots of fun and tons of interviews and songs and things. Giant night. Lots of things. So... really fun. And,
brain not smart making.
Yeah, exactly. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, no, I was overwhelmed this week. A lot of stuff came kind of in at the last minute, and I thought we were going to have to fill time, and then people started sending me things. Hey, put this on the show, and I was like, you got it. But everybody be sure to check out Christina Barr's book, Superkid, and also be sure to check out X-Men Season 1, and be sure to support your local comic book store. It's getting late. I'm ready to go to bed.
This is Comic Book Late Night. That comes with the territory.
That's right. I'm Captain Logan. Remember, make sure that you know where you're going before you teleport, or you might wind up inside a wall.
Or with a backwards head.
or a backwards head. Once again, I'm Captain Logan. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you next time.